Diane Cornick from Paintnporcelain, and I'm here today to share my process with you. For those of you that don't paint china, I think it's important to see what all is involved in the decision-making process and firing process and painting process for china paint. Because with china paint, if you're looking for a new area to try, china painting is something where you can create items with china paint on porcelain that you can't do with any other medium. I mean, I know people say ceramics are out there and that ceramics are similar, but they just aren't. Ceramics to me are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of times they're not as delicate as china painting. And so that's one of the reasons that I really prefer china painting. I've been working on pieces here for Christmas. I just want to show you what my process is and give you an idea of how I do this. Now, you can use the same process with other kinds of art. So if you're a watercolor artist or an acrylics artist or anything like that, I mean, I think you go through a similar way of choosing colors, deciding what you're going to paint. So if you'll remember the last time I started a cake plate. This is how my cake plate turned out, okay? This part here. I'll get close so you can't see everything. And I was real pleased with the way the cake plate turned out. And one of the reasons I stopped when I did last time was because I wanted to go out in my yard. I actually have juniper with juniper berries. Here, let me show you. This is juniper. There's the juniper berry. Now, in this picture, they're blue. I think the older they get, the bluer they get. But these are kind of a gray-green, and they stand out from the actual juniper. But I also picked off a little piece of this and used it for what I was going to be putting on this. I also have in the backyard another kind of evergreen, and it's this one, and it's real pretty. It's kind of a blue, and you can see it has similar segmental leaves. So I had that in the back. And then I have evergreens too. I have one evergreen. But my evergreen gives me pine cones that look like this. So they don't look like the pine cones I painted. I prefer the pine cones I painted, the hard ones. This has very soft little segments. And now I have to decide, before I go too much further, I'm going to decide what I want to do with the edge of this plate, because I can do it now. It's going to need a couple of fires. And if I do it now and decide what color I'm going to use, then I can go back in and paint the second coat on the pine cones and the berries and paint the edge and put it in the kiln and fire it. And then I probably have one more fire for everything. So the way I do this is I look at the piece and I decide what colors are in it that I want to pull out probably for the edge. Now, I do that. I mean, you could certainly use a color that's unrelated. That's entirely up to you. But I try to pick a color that I like and that is a little bit different. So I'm going to put you down so you can kind of see what I've done. So I have a card here, and I'm laying it down. And the first color I used was this red over here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I block off the other colors, and I look and I think, okay, how would that red look all the way around? Well, for me, the red I think is a little too heavy, a little too difficult to, and it's going to be overpowering if you put red all the way around. Okay, so my next color is, I pull from what's in this piece. So my next color is the yellow. And I block off the others, and I look at it. That's a yellow-brown. So how would that look around my whole piece? Well, I guess it would be okay. I don't think it really does anything to enhance the colors that are already there. So for me, that's a no. My next color would be a dark yellow-brown. And this is, this is the first fire, so obviously it's very light. And yeah, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. It's pretty. It's not, you can see here, it's pretty. It's just not, again, adding any spark to it. Okay, let's move over to this one. This is the shading green that I have right here in this leaf, the juniper. It's the shading green. I do like that. I know, though, that when shading green gets dark, I'm not a fan. So I don't know if I'm going to go that route. Then I have brown in here, the dark brown. And I'm just going to block off these colors. And can you see the dark brown with that? It's up here. Oh, I guess I have to turn a little. Okay, there. Okay, that's not bad. It adds a little moody tone. It wouldn't overpower everything. I could do brown. And the final color, it's this celadon up here. There you go. You can see the celadon there. And if I look at the celadon with the other colors on the plate, a celadon goes on very light. And I could add more and more layers to make it darker. So for me, of all the colors that I have on this plate right now, I'm thinking the two colors that I would go with are either the brown or the celadon. I'm definitely wiping off the red. I don't want the red on there. That's just too overpowering. So let me get around to the red side, and I'm just going to wipe it off. Now, when you put red on like this to test something, you may have to take and spray it with alcohol. That's why you need to do it at the beginning of your painting, because if you do it later, you're not going to get all the red off, and then you're going to be upset. So I'm trying to get all the red off. And if this doesn't work, I'll have to go at it with a Q-tip and really get it off. But this should work. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to take off the yellow here, because I don't particularly care for the yellow with it. It's a yellow-brown, but it's so pale that it just, yeah. I'm going to take off this one. So this is how I determine what colors I want around the edge. Okay. And I'm going to take off this one because I know for myself that the darker greens get really ugly the more green you add. And I'm just not a fan. So, okay, so that brings us down now. It'll be easier for you to see. The other thing I was thinking about was, do I put a color behind all of this? So I guess my first reaction was I'd put a little yellow in the middle, like this. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's not always that easy, but I'll do it a little dark so you can see it. And I'd put it in the middle, and I'd radiate it out like this. This is my quick and dirty. This is not what I'm actually going to paint. And then depending on which of these two colors I use, see those two colors there, what color do I now go into behind this? Would I go in with a chartreuse? Chartreuse is a very light color. And how does chartreuse mix with that? No, not so much. How about if I went in with more of a yellow-brown? Well, that's a little better as far as color with these colors. Okay, so there, if I brought it out to the edge, you can see this is what it would look like if I did a yellow-brown. And then I had the darker edge or the lighter edge. Now, I'm a fan of background, and here's a green background, but I think that masks the green that I already have on there. So I could, if I did that, I could go through and pull it all out and pull these things out, wipe them out like this. I could do that. So that's the green. That's a medium green. And here's what it would look like with this green. It's a little bit darker, Then the celadon green. That medium green is really pretty, actually. Well, it's not too bad, is it? It really isn't too bad. I didn't think I'd like it, but it's not really too bad. And it's pretty with the celadon around the edge because it does, the celadon's a little lighter, but I might just go and keep it simple and just use the medium green. Here's medium green over here. Let me show you down here. Let's put a medium green in. Okay, so here's the medium green. This is, I'm putting it on dark so that you can get an idea of how dark it can go. If I did the medium green, I could even do the background in a celadon. That would be pretty. When I do these, I'm going to try to wipe out the highlight so that it shows with a Q-tip, kind of like this. How I did the outline here, I just took my Q-tip and went over it and got a little bit of the color off of it, just to give it a little, almost like an antique-y kind of look. You can see it best on the brown. This is the green. And on the green, I did it here and here and here and here. I'd have to be a lot fussier with the green, I think, to get the color to come out like that. But that's kind of what I want to do on the edge because I really want the edge to show up. Of course, if I didn't do anything on the edge, here's the celadon. Oops, right here. There. And I didn't do anything on the edge. The celadon is so light that it almost shows you the pattern. So if you're going to be doing this now, what you would do is you would put your background colors on first. Then you would have to wipe out or resist. And if you don't know what resist is here, oops, let me show you. It's this liquid. This one's still pretty liquidy. This is a red resist, and it comes like this. And I use bottles. So this is the bottle I use. They're called Fine Line Applicators, Fine Tip. I actually ended up ordering them through Michael's online to get them because I ordered them through Amazon, and they never showed. And I ran into problems. Now let me show you what's cool about this is you can fill it with your resist. Make sure your resist is liquid when you fill it, and then it moves. Can you see that? See how that moves? Here, let me put it this way. This way, and then, yeah, it moves a lot. You don't want one that's gummy. If you have one that's gummy, the way you make it thinner, is that you add a drop or two of water, a drop usually, and put it in the microwave for no more than 10 seconds. Bring it out, stir it, and just keep doing that until you get the consistency you want. Then you pour it into these, and see they're in the back, they're clear, and they have this cap on top. Now the cap unwinds, and it has a little needle in it that goes into the applicator tip. So when you're lining it up like this, and you line it up like that, put it on and twist it, and that will keep the applicator from drying out, and you can use it over and over and over again. So, okay, well, I think what I'm going to do is, I think I've learned things that I like that I didn't like before. So I think I'm probably not going to go with the white background, mainly because I just don't think that, I think it looks like something you can get from Pottery Barn if you have a white background. I think that having some color in the background makes it look more hand-painted. And in my booth, I've had really good success with the things that have color in the background. So I'm going to put the color on the background, and then I will start working on the foreground and putting the pine cones and things like that in. And I can do a little of that now just to give you an idea of what I'm going to be doing. So let me put you down. Putting the color on the background. I'm going to use my my filbert. And I've decided that I am going to use the yellow brown here, just like I had before, because I really, really liked that. It surprised me. I have to admit, I did not expect that to look as nice as it did. And I think the reason it did was because I used the yellow brown instead of using a transparency or a yellow. I can see the colors a little better, but yeah, I really, really like this. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And then as far as the edge goes, geez, I'm still between the brown and the green. And you notice I'm going back and forth, back and forth. I want to go up in here a little bit. The nice thing is my colors are on dark enough now that it won't interfere with them. I applied these berries using these, they're called disposable micro applicators. And they look like this. They're itty bitty. If you can see that, they're itty bitty. And I just dipped it in the paint and then put the little berries on, and it worked great. And I did the same thing down here, and then I just made them bigger by using a small brush and enlarging them. So that's kind of a tip for you if you're looking for something to apply berries and you want them to look uniform, and especially here where they're kind of small. Now, I don't want to just go up to the branch and stop. I want to add a little more yellow above the branch, just so that it has, because this is the top, so just so it has a little, no line of demarcation, okay? I'm going to try, I went over my pine leaves, but I'm going to try not to go over the pine cones too much. I might put a little yellow back in here, okay? And then I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to use that medium green because it actually surprised me. I didn't think it would look as good as it does. And so I'm going to use the medium green. Okay. And not try to hit those pine cones. Now, let me try one other thing before I get too far along here. I want to try the Celadon and see if that is a better choice. It's a little lighter. Oh, and it doesn't take away from the pine as much. Okay, I might go with the Celadon for that then. And a little, I might mix the two actually. Where I'm going over the branches here, I'm going to use the Celadon, where I'm going over the pine needles in here. But the rest of the time, I'm going to use the medium green for the background because I just think it adds a little more color. But see here, I'm not taking away from these as much. Now, when I did these little, and I'm just tinting right now, so you don't have to put on a heavy coat. You just need to put on just a little coat. When I did these little guys here, one of the things that I did with them, let me move this up a little. One of the things that I did with them is I did kind of a jerky stroke because I wanted to make sure that it looked segmental. You saw how those branches I showed you on that one, how they were segmental. And I kind of like that, and so I'm going to, that's why I did it. So I took my little brush, that's not it. I took my baby brush like this, and I just jerked all along to create those branches. And I did it in a, shading green. Because the color of the branches, when I matched it to what I was doing, is kind of a shading green. All right, now I'm getting to the point where I'm using a semi-drying medium. So I have to be careful. Oops. Oh, it got brown on it. If I'm going to use brown, I didn't mean to do that. But if I'm going to use brown, I have to start blending it now. And I just, because otherwise what's going to happen is I'm going to have this ick along the edge. And I think what all I might do at this point is do the, boy, the brown really brings, let's see. It really brings out the work around the top on this beautiful plate, you know. Now I know I'm going much brighter here. I'm much lighter here. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to blend it on this. This is only the first fire for the background, so I really want to kind of blend the color. Yeah, I do like the brown. Okay, got it on two sides. Nope, I don't. I think I'm going to go with the green. Now the key with this filigree around the edge here is to really smooth it out so you don't get any lumps and bumps. And this is only the first fire, so... Oh, too dark. So I'm just going over these a little bit. Then I'm going to have to go back with my Q-tip and really wipe these out. This is a medium green I'm using on the edge. And remember, that's the one I said I didn't think I liked. But you know what I'm going to do? If I don't want it to be too dark, so what I might end up doing is ultimately putting like a Celadon on the second coat instead of on the first coat. And that might do it too. So, okay, there we go. All right. And I'm just trying to keep this as clean as I can so that when I wipe it out, it's not going to look weird. And I have to wipe out the needles and I have to wipe out all that. Okay, and see, I've got to start here in the middle and work down because that's going to dry because I'm using a semi. I should have used an open medium and I didn't. So now I'm paying the price because I really have to paint pretty quickly. But I do like this. See, this is my style. So it may not be your style, and that's fine. But this is my style, and I think it works well. And I also like the fact that I've got some background on the plate. Now, I'm using the Celadon next to the yellow because it's so light that it won't take away from the yellow, and I can kind of pull it out like this. And up in here. I actually surprised myself doing this because it turned out, this is turning out totally different than I thought it would, but I'm happy with the result. So yeah, you have to do whatever appeals to you. And if no background is what you're into, then that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Let me get the, yeah. Get this over here. And you see the medium brown, a medium green is actually, when it's light like this, is almost a Celadon. So it's very similar. I'm shocked at how similar it is. No, I shouldn't be, right? Okay, I really do like that. And I think putting the background on is going to affect how I actually paint the next fire on this plate. I'm glad I waited and did it this way. So I'm just gonna tap a little. I've got something on there. There, got it off. And then up in here, I'm gonna tap a little. Tap a little. Okay. Now, tapping with this would take off the white too. And you could just take the side of the sponge and go around like this. Take the side of the sponge and just wipe it around the edge. I'm just going to do it quickly. I don't know that you can see everything I'm doing, but I'll try. Then I'm going to take a fresh Q-tip. I have two kinds. I have the pointed and I have the regular. Now, for this down in here, where I want to get the color off some of these leaves and things, I'm using the pointed one. You could use resist. I am not a resist fan. Just brushing a little bit here. Pulling out these. Making sure that my pine cones are not covered with the green. There we go. Actually, the green was a good choice because it doesn't seem to have affected the other colors too much. Like there, you don't need it at all. Here, maybe a little bit. Here at the top, that branch. Let me flip around and get this branch, this branch, this branch. Okay. And here, I'm just taking it off the leaves, a little bit off the pine cone. And then the stem that comes around. Okay, this is what I want to do. I want to just float over the top of this design that's on here and pull it out. Okay. And this Q-tip is more apt to do that because it's flat. See? Like there, I just want a little of that design, a little of that. Okay, so let me pull it up here. 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 So I'm using a round Q-tip. And I'm just very lightly smoothing the top of these designs to get the color off. And then here, I want to get that really clean, that little heart. If you wipe off too much, big deal. Okay, see how that Q-tip is kind of used up? Get another one. So that's how I make a decision on what I'm going to do. So pick up those brushes and keep painting. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.